Welcome back to a special edition of the Livin' La Vida Low-Carb Show with Jimmy Moore. And today I wanted to bring on a gentleman by the name of Heath Squier. He is from the company Julian Bakery. You might have seen their ads on the internet promoting a SmartCarb bread, a low-carb bread. And their website is julianbakery.com, and I wanted to have Heath on today to kind of talk about a little bit more about why these breads are good for people on a healthy low-carb lifestyle, diabetics, pretty much anyone who's trying to keep their blood sugars in order. Heath, welcome to the show.
All right, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Tell us a little more about your bread company, just kind of the brief history of how long. I know your mom started it many years ago, is that right?
Yeah, our bakeries have been around for about 20 years. It was started in the town of Julian in the San Diego mountains, and she started off just making organic whole grain breads, and as times changed and we became more educated about carbs, she started developing breads that were in line for low carb diets and diabetics, and she's been making the SmartCarb bread for about 10 years. So
yeah. So tell us more about these SmartCarb breads. What is it about them that makes it good for a low-carb diet?
Our breads are packed with fiber, and the fiber offsets the amount of carbs that are within the bread. So for people looking to lose weight or have a nominal impact on their blood sugar, our breads are specifically designed for those people that are on a low-carb diet.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the label now of it looks like the SmartCarb #1 bread, because you have two SmartCarb breads, SmartCarb #1, which is basically a plain bread, and then SmartCarb #2 is a cinnamon raisin bread. So I'm looking at the nutritional data. It looks like total carbohydrate in the SmartCarb #1 bread is 13 grams, of which 12 is fiber. So that gives a net carb total of 1 gram of net carbs. So did I get all that math right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So what you're saying that is if somebody consumes this, then they're only going to get, the equivalent of what 1 gram of carbohydrate would do to their blood sugar. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
All right. And then with the SmartCarb #2 bread, just basically add 1 more gram of carb to the total and 1 more in other words, it comes out to 2 grams, two net carbs.
And we're really excited about a new bread too that we launched with the SmartCarb #3, which is for celiac customers or wheat intolerant customers.
Oh, gluten-free.
As 3 net carbs, it's a sliced loaf bread, and we're just really having great success with that as well.
So it's gluten-free?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Well, one of the concerns that some people have brought up, Heath, is that the breads taste delicious. They're just totally awesome. Kudos to you. It really is a wonderful tasting bread. Unfortunately, the impact on the blood sugar does tend to have a little greater impact than what 1 gram of net carb would promote. So you know what I did? You know me pretty well, Heath. We've talked for several years now. If somebody kind of brings something up like that, I'm going to investigate it myself, and so I actually tested my blood sugar after eating a SmartCarb #1 bread, and then I compared it with SmartCarb #2 bread. I actually got some white bread. I know, don't kill me. I actually ate some white bread
Nice.
to test it, and then I also got some whole grain bread. And then the final test that I did all this last week. The final test was on eggs, because eggs should have a minimal glycemic impact. In fact, eggs probably would be the closest thing to compare to the SmartCarb breads, because eggs only have about 1 gram of carb per egg, similar to the slices of the SmartCarb bread. So I did the test, and I was surprised that my blood sugar went up into the upper 120s. Before it came down, and then it went a little bit hypoglycemic and came back up to baseline within 3 hours. SmartCarb #2 bread went into the 130s for me, and then came back down and kind of went all over the board. The white bread, obviously.
That that would be expected with the number 2 bread, just because the raisins could cause a slight spike.
This is true.
If you're a diabetic and so forth, we really only recommend the SmartCarb number 1, and that's what we've tested with type 1 and type 2 diabetics. And from our experience, 85% of diabetics have a nominal has a nominal impact on blood sugar. 15% we found are would be considered like a brittle diabetic, or the fiber is not able to offset the carbohydrates in the body, and some people are just hypersensitive to carbs, and that's where you'll find some people the fiber in the bread, it just reacts a little differently in their bodies, and it's pretty well documented in those cases. So
right, and so it goes back to that your mileage may vary. You really need to be careful before you kind of dive right in and get 6 loaves necessarily of the SmartCarb bread, and until you've tested it yourself and see how it responds to you. Now, also, go ahead. I was just going to say
we actually have a customer who's a type 2 diabetic. His name's Charles Archer out of Arizona, and he wrote to us, and he's able to eat our bread, and on occasion even his blood sugar actually drops. And his complete testimonial is on our site. We encourage you to read it, but we do encourage anybody that's diabetic or very sensitive just to make sure they test themselves before and after eating our bread to see if our product's right for them. Because obviously, when it comes to diabetes, we really want people to be eating a bread that's perfect for them.
That's right.
But we have hundreds and hundreds of testimonials on our site from people that are just losing all kinds of weight, and diabetics that are have a nominal to no impact on their blood sugar. So we really encourage you to check out our site. We just have people writing us every day that are just like, this is a godsend, and they have type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So,
sure.
Like I said, there's just so many different situations, and you got to take a look at what you're eating the bread with, and really that's what it comes down to, when you're taking your blood glucose levels. So.
Well, I can tell you with these tests, I did the exact same method for testing the SmartCarb breads as compared to these other breads and the eggs. I cooked them with coconut oil, which is a really quality, healthy fat, and then I also included some cheese. And I did that with all the tests. So these results are definitely comparing apples to apples, and doing them in the same way. I basically made grilled cheeses, Heath. I thought it was kind of a nice way to, it's because that's how people probably use your breads on a low-carb diet, is they would make a grilled cheese, because you can use healthy fats and cheese and the breads. It makes a really nice little meal. Now, I am not diabetic myself, but I did see the hypoglycemia kick in somewhat where it went below baseline. But again, your mileage may vary. You definitely have to do your own testing. And what I hear you saying is that you're highly recommending SmartCarb number 1 for diabetics, but certainly not the other ones. Now, you do have some other breads as well, the Manna from Heaven bread, which is a sugar-free, low-carb bread. You also have the Purity bread, which is the gluten-free bread. So, I mean, you have other options that are available to people for them to test if one of the breads is impacting them in a negative way. So, we really appreciate you being here today on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show and kind of dispelling some of the concerns that people have. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, like I said, I just really encourage, anybody to go to our site, check it out. We really have something for everybody, whether you're diabetic, celiac, or just on a low-carb diet. That's about it. I mean, we make the highest quality bread on the market. We're the number 1 low-carb bread bakery on the market, and we really care about people's health. So that's what we're here to do.
His name is Heath Squier. Check out their website, julianbakery.com, if you're interested in learning more about the SmartCarb breads or any of the breads that they offer there. And by all means, test yourself, see how it impacts you, and see if this can be a part of your healthy low-carb lifestyle. Well, Heath, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.